I'm just trying to write this out.
I know, I'm sorry.
Returning to the capital city, the heroes make a diplomatic attempt to debrief their adventures to all three successors at once. Unwilling to show outward favor to any particular sibling yet, Bernard and Alasia accommodate the party's wishes, but Casca, slighted by the fact that the heroes have completed her siblings' tasks and not hers, flares angrily at being summoned. Tensions between the successors have only risen since the Herald's attack, which has increased pressure for the Senate to install a new Duke or Duchess. After a tiring meeting, the party seeks out Axel, who requests another sum in order to establish a brick-and-mortar shop in the capital. In return, he gifts them a foldable boat. Deciding to take on the final task in Caradron, the party asks Bernard for information about Drow society. During this meeting, he confesses that Casca's coldness during their previous talks has persuaded him to withdraw his bid for succession. The party convinces him to stay in the running by reminding him that though he may not have the strength or charisma of his sisters, they lack his knowledge and dedication. Somewhere in the Underdark, one of the heralds, Naestra, visits Alcyone in a cell in Vonnegan's fortress. While her sister may be tender-hearted, believing Alcyone truly wants to join the heralds, Naestra believes no such thing. She says Alcyone does not wish to pay the price it costs to join them, but Alcyone insists. Naestra tortures Alcyone for several hours. Meanwhile, as the heroes approach Caradron, scores of refugees are fleeing the city. As they pass a pair of these refugees, Suri hears a familiar voice call, Athelene? The name she left behind when she left home. She turns to see her mother and father dressed in rags.
Suri's mother, Aldrea, explains that shortly after Suri left home, the family's shipping vessel sank, rendering them penniless. Her brother, Aldrich, went to Caradron to work as a mercenary for the city. Suri's father, Darian, is less than enthused to see her, and Suri feels much the same way. Aldrea begs Suri to search for Aldrich and bring him back, to which Suri begrudgingly agrees. The party talk to the Thane, and he agrees to let them join the defense, though he suspects it will only be one last skirmish before the city finally falls. The Drow attack, and the battle turns in favor of the dwarves, though the victory comes at the expense of Grudge Thrower, a powerful, trebuchet-like weapon. The Thane figures they don't stand a chance at another attack without Grudge Thrower, though it can be fixed with a spare gyro from a workshop within the city. Suri, Saren, and Kashek agree to infiltrate the city below in search of the gyro. Saren poses as White Knife in order to explain why the Thane is still alive and to get through unharmed, and Kashek transforms into a giant spider, like those the Drow warriors ride upon. Suri becomes invisible and splits from the other two to look for her brother. Saren and Kashek manage to steal the gyro from the workshop, witnessing unspeakable horrors committed by the Drow invaders along the way. Saren reflects on why her father, the scholar Taliesin, might have fled from this place. Together, she and Kashek return to Hyros and the Thane without Suri.
Meanwhile, Suri hitches a ride on a minecart and travels even further underground to where the prisoners are being kept, a massive cavern with a pit of magma at the center. As she searches for Aldrich, the prisoners are being transferred from their cell to a cage suspended above the pool of magma. Suri is able to spot her brother, exchange a few short messages with him, and use her magic to turn him invisible and disguise herself as a Drow guard. Aldrich slips past the real guards as they open the cell, and he and Suri begin to make their way back to the surface. On the way, they are met by the rest of the party and the Thane, who have come looking for Suri and to launch a final attack. They send Aldrich on his way, handing him one of Hyros' throwing axes for safety. Before he goes, he tells Suri to meet him and their parents before she leaves Caradron. She grudgingly agrees to this. The heroes enter the chamber again, Saren and Suri attempting to blend in as Drow warriors. They catch the end of a speech by a priestess raving about sacrificing all these prisoners to summon some monster of destruction, and with the sound of summoning drums, the ritual begins. The heroes attempt to silence the drums to slow the ritual, while the Thane takes control of the mechanism that is lowering the prisoners into magma. A monstrous head peeks out of the magma, but as the drums stop, it sinks back beneath. Suri unlocks the cage, and in the chaos, the party directs the prisoners back to the minecarts to escape. Before leaving, Suri also puts an arrow right through the priestess's throat. Deciding the heroes still need to have a conversation with her, Kashek revives the priestess.
The Drow priestess explains she was summoning the monster to try to rid the Underdark of Vanaken, and they will now have to flee since this particular clan is unaligned with him. Saren offers them sanctuary at the Temple of Cairnanos. Dejected, the Drow let the heroes leave. Suri meets her parents and brother outside of Caradhran. Aldrea apologizes for the abuse and isolation Suri suffered in her childhood, but Suri cannot find it in herself to forgive them in the moment. Aldrea then resolves to tell Suri the truth, infuriating her husband Darian. After a verbal altercation with Suri, he relents and walks away. Aldrea then reveals that Darian is not Suri's father. Her real father is a being of pure light, which would visit Aldrea in her dreams. Suri is shocked and fishes for more information, but this is all her mother is able to tell her. Suri asks her mother if she ever tried to come looking for her. Aldrea answers that she tried, but her husband thwarted any attempts to do so.
Suri offers a place for her mother and brother, should they need one, though Aldrea declines the offer. They part on better terms than they did last time. The heroes return to the capital. The attempt on Angier's life has left him scarred and deformed, but his resolve has never been stronger to pick a successor. After much private discussion, the party decides that Casca is the best choice. While in the city, the heroes rendezvous at the Seven Cats Lounge, with the noblewoman brokering the purchase of their fort. The owner of the Seven Cats, Basta, asks the party to steal the secret ale ingredient used by her competitor, the owner of the Boar and Barrel Inn, so she can win a contest.
With their decision made, the time to vote on a successor has come. The Senate convenes. Casca, Bernard, and Alasia each make one last vie for why they should be the leader of Arcadia. During these speeches, Casca's points seem to be entirely militaristic, resorting only to physical violence and fascist, authoritarian control to crush their enemies, while Bernard displays that he is the only one who truly seems to understand the complexity of the threat the Republic faces. At this, the heroes decide at the 11th hour to switch their support. Suri makes the closing argument, backing Bernard. Though the vote is extremely close, Bernard is chosen as the new Duke. Casca storms out in a rage, intent on taking the throne using her military power. Hyros rushes after her with Suri on his heels. Hyros is able to calm her, and Suri attempts to explain that Casca has completely underestimated the enemy threatening her country. Casca is swayed, and agrees to work with her brother rather than against him. The heroes head back to their room to celebrate a choice well chosen, and Chauncey brings them a gift from Bernard, a bottle of Champagne de l'Estombe from Barovia.
With many threads of possibility before them, the next day the party decides to handle the business at the Boar and Barrel for Basta. They meet Luther, the charming and handsome half-orc proprietor, getting to know him over a few drinks. He admits that he knows how looked down upon his modest establishment is in comparison to the Lux Seven Cats. The party privately agrees that, in solidarity with the working class, they will not be stealing from him, but will at some point recover the secret ingredient, the shipment of which is currently missing, handing Luther the win in the brewing competition instead. While merrymaking at the Boar and Barrel, the conversation turns to Hyros' truncated timeline. He would like a visit home to break the news to Rhea, but doesn't want that somber thought to overshadow the good work they've accomplished so far. While the heroes toast to the succession crisis averted, the world around Suri freezes and her patron, the Maestro, appears. He's becoming impatient for her to make good on her side of the deal. He's waiting to attend a wedding. Suri rather sassily replies that she's getting to it, after which the Maestro remarks that he's proud of her and leaves. Kashek notices something is off about Suri as this happens, though he is unable to figure out exactly what is unsettling him. Evening comes, and the party attends the grand opening of Axel's brick-and-mortar shop, the Queen's Etc. They take notice of the tastefully painted nudes hanging up, presumably of his queen. He welcomes them with much fanfare and gives them items of true talent for their continued patronage. He then produces a ship in a bottle, telling them it is a find for a very particular business associate of his. Axel opens the bottle, and suddenly he and the four adventurers are sucked into the demiplane contained therein. The group splash lands in the ocean. Suri reprimands Axel for press-ganging them, while Saren briefly attempts to drown him because the baby owlbear has been left alone in the shop. Suri helpfully remembers the foldable boat Axel had given them previously, opens it up, and everyone climbs aboard.
Though scant on details, Axel tells the party that many years ago, a diadem used by Miranda de Arcadia to commune with the gods was stolen from the Basilica of San Nina by a legendary pirate, Edwin Devildwyn van Isaacs. Devildwyn was then cursed to sail the seas for eternity inside this very bottle. In order to return to their own plane, the party must find and defeat Dwyn and take the diadem from him. Kashek scouts a bit and discovers the wreckage of a ship in the wake of a smoking vessel. The party sets course towards the wreckage to save the shipwrecked sailors, who seem wary of the group on arrival, not without cause, as they learn. Much like Hyros, Suri, and Axel, Devildwyn and his crew are all tieflings as well. The party surmises that those within the bottle are stuck in time, generations before the present day, when Arcadia was still a new nation. The newly appointed leader of the shipwrecked sailors, Tyrna, agrees to join the party and defeat Devildwyn once and for all, and point the heroes towards a lone pirate den, Crabhook Cove. On the way, they are attacked by a pod of creatures that are horrific amalgamations of shark and squid. They put up quite the fight and take a little less than half the sailors with them, but are fought off nonetheless. Axel even proves himself in battle by selflessly diving into the sea after Hyros is pulled under. Upon arrival in Crabhook Cove, Axel asks the party to let him do all the talking. They discover the patrons of a local alehouse are just as suspicious of the tieflings of the group as the rescued sailors. The owner, a crabby barkeep named Masala Rangoon, threatens the heroes.
Axel is suspiciously quiet as the party navigates piratical politics. Eventually, Masala and her customers warm up to the heroes, finding a common enemy in Devildwyn. The party learn the legend of Devildwyn and of the mythical Yamoja, a great turtle with an island on her back. Masala tells the party that Yamoja may offer them a boon in return for protecting her hatchlings from predators as they return to the sea, which they can then use in the battle against Devildwyn. Once Masala returns behind the bar, the party lightly tease Axel for clamming up earlier. Surprisingly, he lets his facade slip and quietly confesses that he's in over his head. If this mission doesn't go well, he'll have hell to pay to his patron. Suri confides that she understands what he's going through. The two tieflings discuss their patrons, and Suri lets Axel know that she and her friends are there for him to lean on. Axel promises that he will get them out of this mess. Splitting up, Hyros and Suri head to the docks to find a captain to command a ship for them, while Kashek and Saren, at the direction of Masala, go under the sea to find someone who can lead them to Yamoja. At the docks, Suri and Hyros are pointed to a ship belonging to a captain named Pete the Pale. So named because, as they discover, he was killed in a skirmish with Devildwyn, but ghostfully remains aboard his ship, waiting for the day he can seek revenge. Suri and Hyros are able to easily convince him to sail to Dwyn. Meanwhile, thanks to some handy water breathing, Kashek and Saren swim to the ocean floor and meet Seabeard, the entity responsible for keeping the enchantment on the bottle intact. He gives them a seashell compass that will point the way to Yamoja, and makes them vow that when they leave this place, they will leave the bottle intact so those within may live on. The party, Axel, and their rescued sailors reunite aboard Pete the Pale's ship and set sail for Yamoja using the seashell compass. Arriving at the island that serves as Yamoja's spawning ground, the moon eclipses the sun, and Yamoja's hatchlings begin to shuffle through the sand on their way to the ocean. The turtle's many predators come in droves looking for a snack. The party is able to fight off the huge coconut crabs, sandworms, and even a rock. As the sun returns, a hulking form can be seen coming towards shore. Yamoja, the great ark, master of shapes and giver of life, there to greet the heroes and her surviving babies.
An albatross swoops overhead, transforming into an elven man as it lands on the beach. He introduces himself as Ori, a speaker for Yamoja, and tells the heroes they have proven themselves worthy of Yamoja's boon. She will ensure their safety from natural disaster while fighting Dwyn. As the heroes rest before the battle, Saren seeks out Axel. Though she tells him he can confide in them since they're a team now, he replies that it's best if they go their separate ways after this bottle business. Ori also makes conversation with Saren. They talk cryptically of forms and spirits. Ori suggests that Yamoja, being master of forms, may be able to help Saren's friend who hasn't seemed himself lately, if they're able to rid her seas of Devildwyn. Upon finding Devildwyn's ship, the captain is not overly impressed with our heroes. he attempts to intimidate them through a menacing speech, which is interrupted when Hyros fires the ship's harpoon at him. It's a narrow miss. The harpoon hits one of Dwin's crew instead, and the battle ensues. Dwin's ship has firepower, literally. It shoots flame at Pale Pete's ship, but Yamo just sends up a wall of water to protect the heroes. Axel handily dispatches some of the enemy crew by hypnotizing them. Dwin teleports to the crow's nest before he can make his next move. Kashek thornwhips him back down to the deck. Hyros lands the killing blow, beheading Dwin. As the party discusses their next move, Hyros feels a hand on his shoulder. Dwin has risen again, severed head in his hands. He once again gives a pretty impressive oration, at the end of which Hyros suplexes him into the ocean, dispatching him for good. The party rush to the ship's treasure hold to find the diadem, and Hyros finds a nice bracelet as a gift for Rhea. With the diadem in their possession, the party is returned to their own plane and time, with seemingly no time having passed while they were away. Suri lingers behind as the heroes take leave of Axel's shop, hoping to talk to him more about their patrons and reiterate that he can come to her as a friend. Axel rushes Suri out of the shop, and she rejoins her friends in the warm sun of the market square.
As the party navigates I wrote this and I did that to me. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
That is what happened.
What happened?
That is what happened.
Carry on, I'm sorry.